If you're a Texas landowner and you're interested in improving the quality of the genetics on your ranch, you can contact me at deerandwildlifestories.com. As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. I'm wondering which of y'all is going to be the next superstar in the deer industry. I know you're all hungry for breakfast. Hey everybody, welcome to the show and to Central Texas, where today it's going to be a mad scramble, and the reason why is because we've got a hurricane hitting the Texas coast and the weather is going to be changing like crazy. So we're going to hurry up and get this one done. We are at DaVine Genetics, right outside of Belton. Now these folks have only been deer farming for about 8 years, and when we show you the size of the deer on this place, it's going to blow your mind. One of the neat things about my job is getting to go to new places and meeting new people, especially new deer farmers. And so when I found out that we were going to come here to DaVine Genetics, I was stoked. You see, I didn't know Cole before this trip. I didn't know anything other than the fact that I had heard about DaVine Genetics, and I'd heard that he had been quietly building this unbelievable deer herd for several years. And when I got here, and the very first impression I got when I looked at this deer, I couldn't believe it. They were huge.
We started our deer farm here 8 years ago. Currently we've got 23 pens with 547 deer.
Who's got the best job at DaVine Genetics? I don't know. I think the lady that feeds the deer got a pretty doggone good job. I mean, she's got customers that every day they love to see her. I mean, you look at the faces on those deer and you look at her face as she feeds the deer and think, who couldn't love that?
My name is Travis Hunt. I'm the ranch manager out here at DaVine Genetics. We start our mornings with Janice. She's our bottle feeder. She's over there bottle feeding all of our doe fawns. Next, Ben will go out and start feeding all the big deer. My job is general care and health care of the overall herd.
Every day, each deer pen at DaVine Genetics is visited multiple times by multiple people, whether they're just feeding, checking water, or looking closely at every deer on the farm. These pens and the deer are observed closely to make sure that every single one of them is healthy. Every time a deer farmer goes in the pens, he is looking for deer that are off. And what I mean by that, a deer that doesn't feel good. You can tell a deer doesn't feel good by a number of ways. I mean, but the biggest thing is if you check them regularly, and you should check them regularly, a deer that is off to himself, a deer that doesn't want to be by anybody else, a deer maybe that, I say, puffed up, his hair is on end, that's an indication they may have fever, a deer that ears are drooping down. When that happens, a deer farmer needs to be prepared with his dart gun to administer medication to help that deer out.
So a big part of my job is coming out here every day, at least twice a day, and getting eyes on all these deer that are in the pens, making sure everybody's feeling good, everybody's doing all right. Whenever Ben comes out here and he's feeding, he's also doing the same thing. He's helping me get eyes on the deer. More eyes makes the job a lot easier. Right now we've got a buck that's in here that's not feeling too good. He's a little bit off, so we're going to try and take care of him. So we just had a dart a buck this morning. He had a little touch of pneumonia, so we're just trying to help him along.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds.
Well, I got in the deer industry because I love deer. I love watching them, and we wanted to grow big deer. We wanted to enjoy seeing how they develop year after year, and watching how you can take a deer from a fawn and see it grow out into a beautiful deer.
There's a reason why Cole's deer are big, and it's all about genetics, period. DaVine genetics, okay? Keep in mind, you know, there's people that think that these deer are all jacked up on steroids and all kinds of drugs and growth hormones. That is not true. They're jacked up on genetics. And when you take a look at this, the reason why Cole has been able to grow such giant deer in a short period of time, it's all because of the proper genetic selection. Well, I want to tell you something before we wind up showing y'all these deer. I want you to know that every deer farm that I've gone to, every single one of them has been talking about DaVine genetics and the deer that you've got. I want you to know that. Folks, take a look at these deer. Just look at these deer. Holy smokes. You've been deer farming for 8 years?
Yes, sir.
Look at you. I mean, 8 years, this is unbelievable. I mean, how old are these bucks?
2-year-olds.
Tell me about.
Well, we got solid gold in here. Big 2-year-old, sired by Kid Rock over Express over Bambi 727. He's one of our favorites.
I'm laughing because it's like there's so many big bucks. It's like, which one is solid gold? I'm about ready to fall over. I'm serious. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. There's so many big deer. These are all 2-year-olds.
Yes, sir.
Tell me how you did it. Okay, because this really is absolutely over the top. How, in a short period of 8 years, were you able to grow this?
We bought quality over quantity, and we stacked pedigrees by buying the best does that we could possibly get and breeding them to the best sires, and then just stacking pedigrees.
I ask every deer farmer to give me one piece of advice. What would you advise somebody to do? Is start with quality over quantity every single time. Buy the best genetics that you can afford, period. And that's what you did.
Yes, sir.
And when you do, this is proof. I mean, there are guys that have been breeding deer for 30 years that don't have deer like this. And the reason why is because they don't have the right genetics. I mean, they may have good genetics, but they don't have the best genetics. And that's what you did. You started off with the best genetics.
We started off with the best genetics that we could get our hands on.
And
yes,
every year since then, you've been artificially inseminating the
yes,
deer
sir,
with the best genetics you can get your hands on.
That's correct.
And so it's just natural. I mean, you can look at these deer, and a lot of people may think, oh, you got them drugged up, you got them jacked up on steroids or something. That is not the case. They're jacked up on genetics.
Pure genetics.
Okay, so point out solid gold for me.
He's over there.
Holy smokes. Look at him. 2 years old.
2-year-old.
Okay, now I'm wondering how wide do you think he is?
I say 30 plus.
He's 30 plus all day long. I mean, you are so modest. I mean, look at him there. I mean, he is gorgeous. He is, he's got a lot of good uptimes too. Really, when you look at his frame, I mean, his frame is just beautiful, but he's got a lot of extras off of it. But even if you wound up took those extras off, he's gonna score unbelievable. All right, pedigree, tell me about him.
Kid Rock over Express over 727.
And every one of those deer that he just named is a legend in the deer industry.
Absolutely.
They're producers. And so I'm assuming he's in the North American Deer Registry?
Yes.
And so somebody, if you're a deer breeder and you're a member of the registry, you can go in there and you can actually take a look and see the lineage on that deer.
Yes.
And we'll put it up on screen so you can actually see the pedigree certificate. He is absolutely a phenomenal deer. But every one of these deer, you've got, how many bucks are in here?
There's 14.
Okay, 14 bucks. How many of these 14 bucks were the result of artificial insemination?
All of them.
Really? So they were all AI babies?
These
None
are
of them
AI
covered?
babies.
Wow. Okay, so as we look at these deer right here, holy smokes, who is that big typical?
That's Landmark. He's freeze frame over Express, over 2028, over FedEx's mom.
Holy cow. Well, it's no wonder. How wide do you think he is? He's 30 plus.
He's 30 plus.
Yeah, he is a beautiful deer. Now, the thing about him, he's fixing to get shipped out of here, isn't he?
He's going over to D-bar whitetails. Yes, sir.
Okay, and explain to everybody why he's going to D-bar. I mean,
Well, Brian came over here and fell in love with him, and we made a deal, and the deal is we're going to partner up on him and send him to his place.
and so D-bar Whitetails contacted you, and anybody can come out here and take a look at these deer. I mean, we'll give you a phone number in just a second. If you're watching online, you've got any questions, go ahead and post them below. If you're watching on TV, I want to encourage you to go watch online, because you can watch 24/7, and we'll give you his phone number in a minute. But every one of these deer, as we're looking at them, if somebody wants to partner up with you and they come out and look, they just need to ask you, right?
That's correct. We're open to making deals.
Okay, and so if you want to look at deer and you want to maybe explore a partnership or just buying one outright, give them your phone number.
My number is 254-541-4637.
And they are located just outside of Belton, Texas, about right in the center of the state of Texas. And we are showing you the most incredible pen of 2-year-olds that I've laid my eyes on this year. This really is amazing. So let's move on. I want to see some other deer, and I hear that you've got a yearling that's blowing everybody away.
Yes,
by the
sir.
name of American Outlaw.
American Outlaw.
So y'all stay tuned. We're going to show you more giant bucks from DaVine Genetics, and we're going to introduce you to American Outlaw.
If you're in Texas and interested in becoming a deer farmer, you can contact me for deer farming franchise opportunities right here in Texas at deerandwildlifestories.com.
All right, you've done it again. I thought maybe you were just taking me to your best pen, but this is another pen of 2-year-olds.
Yes, sir.
And so, folks, take a look at this. Okay, so is this pen any better than that pen? I'm serious. I mean, it's like, I look at it, I thought the previous pen we just showed you was pretty unbelievable. This pen right here, you have really knocked it out of the park. I mean, they're big, beautiful. I mean, you know, every one of them looks different, you know, and that's the cool thing about breeding deer. Tell me about some standouts in there. What do you think?
Well, we've got Hitchhiker. He's a big 2-year-old there. Big framey, clean deer, tall tines.
I can tell who he is.
He's a
Nice looking deer.
great deer.
Okay, and who's he out of now, Cole?
He's a Sudden Express over Shadow over Easy Money.
Okay, Sudden Express over Shadow over Easy Money.
Yes, sir.
Sudden Express was a beast of a deer, and he has thrown so well through the years.
He has.
And pretty significant deer right there. Okay, so who else do you have in here?
We've got Night Rider.
And where is he now?
He's a big, wide, framey deer. Got some cool flyers.
I think I just saw him. Oh yeah. Okay, pedigree on him.
He's FedEx over Max Dream over 996, which is a deep pedigree.
Okay, I am not familiar with that pedigree, but I know that I'm familiar with those names for doggone sure. And so what we want to do, we'll show you the pedigree certificates, the NADAR pedigree certificates, so those of you that are familiar with pedigrees and how to read them can see just how strong that deer is. So these deer right here, let me talk about this. Any of them for sale?
We do have deer for sale.
Okay, so if somebody wants to come out here, take a look at them, or to buy one, give them a phone number.
254-541-4637.
All right, you got a website?
We do.
What is it?
www.davinegenetics.com.
And again, if you're thinking about getting in the deer farming industry, do yourself a favor, please. If you're in the Central Texas area, you owe it to yourself to come just outside of Belton to DaVine Genetics. You need to take a look at it, because what Cole has done in 8 short years is unbelievable. I mean, just take a look. It's unbelievable. All right, what I want to do is I want to go around. I want to take a look at some yearling bucks.
Yes,
and
sir.
I know that you've got a bunch of them, but looking at 2-year-olds here, I think these guys that we're looking at in this pen, these 2-year-olds, and the last 2-year-olds as yearlings, were they any better than the yearlings that you have today?
No, sir. I think we're getting a little better each year.
Okay, and that right there is the answer you want to hear from a deer breeder. When you're breeding deer right, your younger generation deer are your best genetics. So what we're going to do, we're going to break out of this pen. We'll show you some yearlings, and we'll introduce you to American Outlaw.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy. Let me tell you about Cole. Cole is a relatively young guy. He's very quiet, he's very smart, and he's studious. And what happens, I'll sit there and look at the deer, and I look at him, I look at the deer and look at him, thinking every one of these deer out here is built because of him and his family and the decisions that they made to produce those deer. And so I'm looking at Cole and thinking, when I first saw him at a deer sale, I didn't think he was going to have deer this big.
The key thing out here to growing these big bucks that we have is genetics. Yes, having a big deer that's nice and fat and healthy makes it a lot easier, but it all comes down to the paperwork and it all comes down to their pedigree. If they don't have the genetics to back them up, they're not going to be able to produce those massive racks that we're looking for out here.
8 years ago, I never thought we could be where we're at today. It's been a dream come true, and it's each year we get a little better by better, and I look forward to the new year each year.
All right, everybody, we're going to introduce you to American Outlaw. And if you're watching online and you got questions, post them below and we'll get right back with you. If you're watching on TV, make sure and go to our website where you can watch online. Right there is American Outlaw. Tell us about him.
American Outlaw, he's Triple Crown over Express, over Brandy, which Brandy is Gladiator 2's mom.
All right, looking at these gigantic 1-year-olds, I mean, I asked you this question when we were in the 2-year-old pen, how many of them were the result of AI, and you said 100%. So, on these 1-year-olds, how many are the result of AI?
On this pen here, 75%, 80%.
So you rely on artificial insemination tremendously to bring the best genetics in from across the country to grow what we're looking at here.
Yes, sir. We basically take the best bucks that we can think, best does that we've bought, and stack the paper, pedigree, and try to form it based off of that.
Okay, when are you doing your AI?
We do our AI normally November 15th.
Okay, so you're going to have babies on the ground probably the first week of June. So if somebody wound up wanting to come over and take a look at the deer, I wouldn't think the first week of June would be a good time, because over here it's going to be all hands on deck, picking up fawns, bringing them to the barn to bottle feed. I mean, record keeping, it's crazy, right?
It is very crazy during that time, but July 15th on, anytime. We've got a lot of bucks growing out. Come check them out.
Cole, I got to hand it to you. Like I said at the beginning of the show, everybody I've been to has told me, wait till you go to DaVine Genetics. You have done one hell of a job.
Thank you.
Put her down. Folks, thank you for watching. My name is Keith Warren. You've been watching Deer and Wildlife Stories. If you've got any questions or comments about the show, just go ahead and post them online. If you're not watching online, you're watching on TV, you can watch our shows 24/7. Make sure and check it out. Thanks for watching. Cole Wolf and DaVine Genetics is a great example of how good and robust the deer industry is in Texas. When you take a look at it, Cole doesn't hardly have any deer, I think, on the farm, especially any bucks over 2 years old. And the reason why is because there's a demand for them. So if somebody was going to ask me, what is the deer business like in Texas right now? I'd say it's pretty doggone good.
You can get in contact with me at any time at 254-541-4637.
This has been a phenomenal day to spend with DaVine Genetics. You know, we've gotten to see some really big deer. I've gotten to make a new friend. I've seen some things that I didn't think a man could accomplish in a short period of time. And DaVine Genetics is a place that's centrally located in Texas. It's just outside of Belton off Interstate 35. So I want to encourage you, come on out here, take a look at the deer. And if you want more information, to come out here and see the big deer at DaVine Genetics, give Cole Wolf a call.